In this video, we're going to have a look at how do we calculate compound interest. And when we're calculating compound interest, to get the interest amount, there's really two steps that we need to do. The first step is going to be to calculate the total amount, including the original principal plus the interest. To do that, we use the formula A is equal to P, and then in brackets, 1 plus R to the power of N. So let's have a look at what each of those components represent. So A represents the amount in total. And that total amount is the principal plus the interest. So how much at the end of the investment or at the end of the loan that you've got in total. P is the principal, so the original amount you are starting with. R is the interest rate per period. We'll have a look at how we calculate that when we look at an example. And N is the number of times it compounds. So in calculating the amount of compound interest, that is the first step, is to calculate the total amount using the formula A is equal to P, and then in brackets, 1 plus R to the power of N. The second step in calculating compound interest is to calculate the actual principal amount. And we use the formula CI is equal to A minus P. Now, in that formula, CI is compound interest. So the amount of interest that is actually being earned or actually being paid. A is the amount in total, and that's the amount we calculate in step 1. And P is the original principal amount. In completing those two steps, we'll be able to calculate the compound interest amount. So let's have a look at an example of how do we calculate compound interest when we are compounding annually. In the first example, I want to calculate the interest earned on the following investment. Now the investment is $3,000 at 5% for 2 years, compounding annually. Now it's important to note that we are compounding annually because that may not always be the case. Sometimes you might be compounding 6 monthly or monthly, weekly, or even daily. So that's an important piece of information to know. So to calculate the interest amount, first we need to calculate the total future value of that investment. So we are calculating that amount. We know that our principal is $3,000. Our interest rate is 5% or 0.05. And our number of times it is compounding is 2. So we can apply that to our formula. So A is equal to P 1 plus R to the power of N. This time substituting in the values. So 3,000 times by 1 plus 0.05 to the power of 2. So putting that into my calculator, I know that my future amount is going to be $3,307.50. So now that I've done the first step and calculated the future amount, the second step is going to be calculate the interest component. So the compound interest is going to be that future value minus the original principal. So $3,307.50 minus $3,000. So the compound interest on that original investment is going to be $307.50. So if you were to invest $3,000 at 5% for 2 years, and that compounds annually, it is going to equal $307.50 worth of interest. So that's an example of how we calculate compound interest when we are compounding annually. So that's once per year.